Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into a really fascinating and very important area of Christian theology, and we're doing it because you shared a specific source with us.
That's right. It's part 5 of a larger Bible study series. The title of the whole series is At Salvation, What Changed?
And this particular section zooms in on one of the most foundational concepts in the entire doctrine.
And one of the most debated, for sure. We're just talking about justification. For anyone trying to, really grasp their standing before God within this framework, this is the entire puzzle piece.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to go deeper than just a simple dictionary definition. We want to unpack what your sources say.
Clarify the huge status change it implies.
And this is the crucial part. We want to really wrestle with the core theological tension that the material itself brings up, that tension between faith and works.
It's a classic debate, and what's great is that your source material faces it head on.
It really does. So let's start at the beginning. The foundation. How does this study define justification right out of the gate?
Well, the sources are very, very precise. The primary takeaway is that justification is, first and foremost, a change of status.
A change of status. Okay, so it's an external thing, right? A legal move, not some kind of internal emotional shift.
Exactly. It's the difference between feeling forgiven and being declared innocent in a court of law. And the study emphasizes that this change of status, it results in a pretty radical outcome.
Which is what?
The individual achieves a state of appearing as if you have never committed sin.
Wow. Okay, that phrase, appearing as if you have never committed sin, that raises huge question. It sounds like a transformation so complete it just rewrites the history books.
It does. But who's doing the rewriting?
And that's the key. The material makes it absolutely clear that the agency, the power here, lies entirely with God. This status is granted, or the theological term is imputed.
Imputed.
It's not earned. God, quote, declares the sinner righteous based on Christ's finished work.
The key word there has to be declares. It is. It's a legal verdict. It's pronounced by the highest possible authority. You don't slowly become righteous through effort. You are officially, in a moment, declared to be righteous.
And it's all because of what Christ has already done.
Already accomplished, yeah.
The source material uses some really powerful metaphors to make this more tangible. I found the one about a restoration to the default setting really interesting. I mean, when we talk about a default setting on a computer or a phone, we're talking about the original intended state before any viruses or glitches got in.
And that analogy is just so crucial for understanding the sheer scope of this change. It tells you the justification isn't just a patch or a Band-Aid.
It's a factory reset.
Factory reset, exactly.
Yeah.
Takes you back to the intended state of relationship with the Creator, predating any corruption. If you're at the default setting, well, there's nothing missing. There's nothing broken.
So that's the relational side of it. But what about the legal side? If God declares you righteous, what happens to the punishment you should have faced?
The source is just as clear on the legal ramifications. Once you're justified, the individual is, quote, discharged and acquitted from all condemnation.
Discharged and acquitted.
It's total legal relief, and the study guide even points to the classic reference for this, which is Romans chapter 8, verse 1.
Let's pause on that, because that is a massive statement. When you say acquitted from all condemnation, what do we need to understand about the weight of that?
It means the case isn't just, put on hold or suspended.
It closed.
It's closed. The debt is paid in full. The penalty is removed forever. It's like a presidential pardon, but a pardon that also gives you a certificate of perfect obedience for your entire life.
So it's not just about avoiding a negative outcome.
No, it's about gaining a perfect positive status. It's having a completely unblemished record in the divine court. That legal barrier that stood between God and the sinner is it's gone.
Okay, so just to sum up this first part, the source establishes justification as this definitive, declarative legal act by God. It's based only on Christ's work, and it results in a perfect legal status.
Right. Acquittal and restoration. A status that is complete and fixed from the moment of faith.
This is where it gets really interesting. If this status is fixed and finished and declared perfect, then why would your own actions, your own effort, or commandments, why would any of that matter at all? The source brings this tension up immediately.
And this is the essential nuance, isn't it? It's where the confusion so often comes in for believers. The study guide is very careful not to just ignore the Bible passages that seem to connect our standing with God to our actions.
And it doesn't shy away from the tough ones either. It introduces this idea of the doer,
Right.
citing verses that really seem to imply that your performance is a necessary part of the equation.
That's right. For instance, it brings up Romans 2.13. And the study guide includes the text, which, it basically says it's not the hearers of the law who are justified.
But the doer will be justified.
The doer. And if you only had that single verse to go on, you'd have to conclude that justification is based on perfect, lifelong obedience to the law.
Which seems to fly directly in the face of what we just established, that it's a gift based solely on Christ's work.
Exactly. And the source just keeps turning up the heat on this tension. It brings in Christ's own words from John 14.15, linking love directly to action.
If you love me, keep my commandments.
Right. So these verses, they establish that doing good, keeping the law, obedience, these are all critically important parts of the life of faith. You can't just dismiss them.
But the biggest challenge, the one that always comes up in this debate, is from the book of James. How does your source handle James?
James.
Yeah.
Yes. James is the scriptural powerhouse for this whole tension. And the study material goes right to it. It pulls from James chapter 2, which explicitly talks about the necessity of, work plus faith.
The famous faith without works is dead passage.
That's the one. James states it so clearly. A person is justified by works and not by faith alone.
Okay, let's really unpack this, because this is the deep dive. The study guide is presenting two systems that look completely incompatible.
We do.
You have Paul, on one hand, describing justification as a legal status declared by God because of faith in Christ. And then you have James describing justification that seems to require the evidence of works. Does the study material just pick a side?
No, and that's the beauty of it. It doesn't pick a side. It forces the reader to make a critical distinction. A distinction between the cause of justification and the evidence of justification.
Cause versus evidence.
Yes. And clarity on this is everything. If we get those two confused, the whole concept of grace just falls apart.
Okay, so if the cause of our justification, that change of status, is Christ's finished work,
Right.
then where do the works that James is talking about fit in?
They're the result. They're the fruit. The source implies that Paul is mostly talking about the moment you receive your passport.
Yeah.
The legal change of your citizenship status.
Okay.
James, on the other hand, is focused on whether you're actually using the passport. Are you living like a citizen of that new country?
So those doer verses, like in Romans, aren't the basis for getting that initial declaration of righteousness.
No.
They're more like the necessary and inevitable proof that the change of status really happened on the inside.
Precisely. If you are truly justified, if you have received that factory reset, that total acquittal, it should fundamentally change the way you live. The tension only exists if you think James is talking about what gets you acquitted in the first place.
I see.
If the source is right, and justification is that final, finished legal verdict, then works are simply the proof that a relationship has already been made right. They're the evidence of a living faith, not a prerequisite for it.
That distinction is incredibly helpful, cause versus evidence. But even with that clarification, it leads right into the next big issue the source raises, the problem of sufficiency. Because even if we understand that works are just evidence, the material points out that so many believers still feel this deep compulsion to add their works to the pile as if they're contributing to their own acquittal.
And this is where the study guide pivots. It moves from an intellectual debate to a really personal, introspective one.
It stops being about theology and starts being about belief.
It does. The source does this by asking you, the listener, a very direct question. It's a question that probes what you genuinely believe about the completeness of Christ's work.
And that question, which is really at the heart of this internal struggle, is, do you believe Christ's blood cleanses you from all sin?
That question just cuts through all the noise. It bypasses the whole debate about works as evidence, and it goes right to your belief system. If you say yes to that question.
You're saying Christ's work was enough? It was sufficient?
100% sufficient, yes.
And yet, the study material makes a very direct and honestly a pretty tough observation about where most Christians are on this.
It is tough, but it's honest. The source says, quite plainly, that unfortunately, many Christians don't believe Christ's sacrifice was enough to justify them.
So there's a belief gap.
A massive belief gap. And the study identifies that gap as the psychological and theological root of all the striving and legalism we see. People might understand the doctrine of grace with their heads.
But they don't trust it in their hearts. They don't trust the declaration of perfection.
Exactly. And that lack of trust leads to a very specific behavior, which the text highlights.
Right. These individuals feel like they have to keep contributing to their own legal case, even after the verdict has been read.
That's why the text says they would rather add their own sacrifice on top of what Christ did. This isn't about doing good deeds out of love anymore.
What is it about, then?
It's about performing penance, or engaging in excessive self-criticism, or striving for this impossible moral perfection because of a nagging fear. A fear that the acquittal wasn't real or that it could be revoked.
So when they add their own works, they are, in a way, trying to improve on what God has already declared is finished.
You've hit on the ultimate paradox. I mean, if you've been acquitted from all condemnation, what precisely are you still trying to earn or pay for?
Right.
If you try to supplement the sacrifice, you are implicitly saying that God's original declaration of perfection was, well, incomplete, lacking somehow.
And the source material resolves this whole internal conflict, this compulsion to add our own efforts, with one final, definitive statement from the Apostle Paul.
It really does. It serves as the final word on this whole sufficiency debate. It reinforces the idea that what is divine can't be improved upon by what is human. The final point is this: you cannot improve on what God has declared perfect.
And that really is the bottom line, isn't it? If justification is a declaration of perfection, and that declaration comes from God himself, then any attempt to add to it isn't just unnecessary.
It's logically impossible. It
Right.
brings the whole conversation about works, whether they're cause or evidence, right back to that central, non-negotiable change of status.
If you truly believe in the sufficiency of Christ's work, the debate about the cause of your status is over.
It's over, and your energy is then freed up to focus on the fruit, the obedience, the love, the service that naturally flows from that complete restoration to the default setting.
This has been an incredibly helpful deep dive. Let's quickly wrap up the essential takeaways for you to carry forward from this.
Okay. First, remember that justification is not a feeling. It's not a process. It is a declared change of status by God, a legal acquittal.
Second, this new status is a total restoration to the default setting. It's a complete discharge from all condemnation, giving you that security we find in Romans 8.1.
And third, the key to navigating that tension between faith and works is to recognize the absolute sufficiency of Christ's finished work. Because God has declared it perfect, no human effort can or should be added to that foundation.
And this all leads us to a final provocative thought for you to chew on, one that comes directly from the text's emphasis on perfection and belief.
Right. So if justification truly means that your status before God is perfectly secure and that you are discharged from all condemnation, what immediate practical element of your current struggle or your anxiety is rendered totally obsolete by fully believing that Christ's work is perfect and cannot be improved upon?
That is the question to take with you as you reflect on this powerful source material. Thank you so much for trusting us with your notes and for letting us do this deep dive.
We look forward to seeing what you send us next time.